Well, it's been a while since I've done a Star Trek video, but I'm still on a bit of a review kick, and I seem to be reviewing a lot of Sega games lately. Star Trek The Next Generation for the Sega Genesis!
Engage!
Hey, it's Little Waz, and welcome back for another episode of Waz Reviews. In 1994, Star Trek The Next Generation Echoes from the Past was released on the Sega Genesis. And fun fact, it was also released on the Super Nintendo under a different name. This was the game that introduced me to Star Trek. Heck, this was Star Trek to me. Little Waz wasn't even aware of the adventures of Kirk, Spock, McCoy,
and the rest.
And this was also how he was introduced to Captain Picard, Data, Mr. Worf, and the rest of the Enterprise D crew, although in a very pixelated form. And as the years went by and I became a bit of a Trekkie as an adult and got exposed to more Star Trek media, I still come back to this game every so often. So, let's boldly go where many 90s kids went, the Sega Genesis.
Engage!
Before I get into the game itself, I have to talk about the intro. I love it. It's a very solid recreation of the intro scene in the show, both in audio and visuals. In fact, this game does a great job recreating the show, even going so far as to take screenshots from the show and incorporate them into the game. I especially love the theme song. Have a listen. But I digress. Pressing start, we see a pixely Picard with his written captain's log. Captain's log. It has been 2 days since Starfleet stopped our shore leave on Hobson Delta 2. The crew is covering up their disappointment well as we return once again to the edge of the neutral zone, which the Romulans have been threatening to cross. When aren't the Romulans threatening to cross the neutral zone?
A simple misunderstanding, Captain Picard.
Basically, the Romulans claim that a Romulan research team disappeared, and they want to cross into the Federation to look for them, which Starfleet refused. The Enterprise has been sent to keep an eye on them, and apparently the crew doesn't know about their orders, which is kinda odd, but whatever. As soon as the Enterprise bridge comes into view, a transmission comes in. Let's check it out. A distress signal? Dr. Tolaris, an archaeologist and one of those rare blonde Vulcans, has been working at CODIS News 6 and detected some Romulans. Well, I guess we better help her out. But the doc can wait while we go over the basic ship controls, right? In front we have the view screen, which is used to answer communiques, and the con to plot a course for a new location. To the left we have the ready room, where Picard gives you story updates and where to go next, and then we have the transporter room to send away teams down to any suitable planet. You get to pick away teams of 4 officers, including both main cast members and new faces that I'm sure won't get killed as soon as they transport down. And in back we have engineering, where you can repair parts of the ship after battles or overusing warp, the computer, which provides some extra information and allows you to save your game, and sensors, which will give you info on whatever is in front of you at the time. Planets, ships, stars. If it's in front of you, it'll sense it. Better than Troy.
I am not a mind control expert.
I really enjoy going through the computer files, which have nice references to the show. I especially love the crew's profiles. Picard's interest in fencing, horseback riding, and Shakespeare, Riker's love of jazz and poker, Beverly and her secret love of dancing and not-so-secret love of theater, Data and his Sherlock Holmes hobby, Geordi and his shipbuilding, Worf and his poetry. No mention of Troy's love of chocolate, though.
I never met a chocolate I didn't like.
I also love how nice the profile pictures are. In fact, a lot of the artwork in this game is impressive considering it came out on a 16-bit system. Lastly, there's Worf in charge of tactical, which is used during space battles. I'll get more into that later. With that out of the way, let's help our blonde Vulcan out. Mr. Data, set a course to CODIS News 6. Warp 9 while we're at it. Engage. Since we haven't heard from Dr. Blondie, Picard is sending an away team down to the planet. Although I am fully aware this could be a Romulan trap.
It's a trap!
Okay, who are we sending to the planet? Riker for his magnificent beard, Data for his brawn and brains, that new ensign Riker just picked up in 10 Forward, and Ensign Ricky, good luck! Riker immediately gets shot upon beamed down by the Romulans and lands on his bum. So he returns the favor, for you do not make Riker look silly, he makes you look silly. Pardon me? Well, Dr. Talaris looks okay, and she gives you her heartfelt thanks. Thank you for your help. Touching. During conversations, you are given 2 dialogue options, each with varying tones. Here, when talking to Dr. Talaris, the tone is either expressing concern for her safety or trying to get information out of her. Whatever choices you make, Dr. Talaris tells you the Romulans have interest in the ruins, and she insists upon staying here despite the fact that she seems to be unarmed with no backup other than the closest ship. The Enterprise, of course. It's always the Enterprise. And should the Romulans return, Doctor, what would you do then? In the unlikely event they did return, I would avail myself of your services a second time. There is no other logical alternative. Yeah, there is. Goodbye. Well, there's nothing going on right now, so usually I just pick a planet and head over until something comes up. Upon arrival, we get a transmission from an Admiral Baldwin about a distress message from Orion's Alpha 4, which is suffering an epidemic. An epidemic of what, Admiral? Would you believe Digeran fever? Some foolish traitor has infected the planet. These space merchants never stop, do they? Picard has no chill today, what the... Baldwin mentions some stuff about the Romulans moving in the neutral zone, but it really doesn't matter a whole bunch because we have to answer the distress call. Fair enough, let's head on over. Hello, what do we have here? So we come to a choice, perhaps one of those ethical choices that Star Trek is known for. This derelict ship we see before us is in a decaying orbit, and life signs are fading. However, our orders are to get to Orion's Alpha 4 as soon as possible, or many people will succumb to the epidemic. Now, I've played this game enough times to know that if you go to Orion's Alpha 4 first, there are no adverse side effects in the game, so let's just go there. Oh, and needs of the many and all that.
The needs of the many outweigh
the needs of the few.
And we've saved thousands of lives with the medical supplies that we Amazon primed the planet, because go down to the planet with all those sickies? Ew, no. Of course, when you consider how many times the Enterprise crew got sick from exposure to weird germs, it's understandable. Alright, back to the derelict ship. Let's see. Unknown name, unknown class, unknown life forms, unknown technology. Let's take an away team over there and see what's going on. Right after the transporter is safe, apparently it got damaged somehow. Okay, let's send Riker with his power of the beard, Data for his technical expertise, Troy because she can sense things, I guess, and... Ensign Ricky Finch, do us proud, Ricky! Well, looks like the power's out. You do have the option to turn the auxiliary power on, which will bathe the ship in horror movie red light. You can also just walk around in the dark, either way works. Well, seems like all they did was blow a couple of fuses because now the lights are on. This entire segment is basically repairing the strange ship, all while fighting off security robots. You go around the ship collecting fuel tanks and popping them in where they need to go, collecting circuits and fixing the main computer, and installing a pressurization pump for a cryogenic pod room. Once you have everything repaired and you have all the right switches flipped, the ship is back in operational order and you beam back. We're immediately treated to a message from Caesar, Jirak of the Unasian people. He and his people have been traveling for 10,000 years from the Gamma Quadrant? I mean, how slow is your ship that it's taken you 10,000 years to get here? Voyager is only 75 years from home in the Gamma Quadrant. I would have expected aliens with space travel capabilities 10,000 years ago to be a little more technologically developed. Anyway, Caesar gifts Picard with a mysterious device called a Tavod, which is being used to reach something called an IFD? IFD? And he invites Picard to take his place for a test. Picard, of course, has questions. Surely you know of the IFD, the most powerful device in the history of the galaxy. During this conversation, Picard has 2 moods: ask questions or launch into self-righteous speech. I mean, both have their place, sure, but it's just funny that you have to pick your level of self-righteous in this game. Power must never be free from check. It is the essence of freedom. Yet why have the Unasians become the protectors of galactic liberty? It is quite an undertaking. Settle down there, Jean-Luc. He seems like a nice enough guy. Apparently 10,000 years ago, the Unasians passed the IFD in the Gamma Quadrant and gained a lot of power and ruled the galaxy briefly, but it was too awesome of a power and they gave it up. Caesar then says the Tavad will help us when the IFD comes, and good luck. Thanks? Ah, we're being hailed. Admiral Baldwin! We've just received a distress signal from Orion's Gamma 3b, a mining moon. Oh no. No. We all have those games that we like and want to replay, but there's just that one section that stops us. This moon is a big reason why I don't revisit this game a whole lot. Don't get me wrong, I have a fondness for this game, and in some ways, I wish there were more Trek games like this. But this section? Well, let's send an away team down. Riker, Worf, Data, and... Ricky, you said you're retiring next week, right? How about going out in a blaze of glory? The goal of this mission is to rescue trapped miners who have run into trouble with the local animal life, giant worms that shoot something at you. In some ways, these worms aren't unlike the Horda in the original series, and while they can be a major pain in the butt, they're not the reason why I hate this part. No, this level is a complex maze that is very easy to get lost in, and you practically have to go through the entire thing in order to free all the trapped miners. Also, this game never tells you how many you have to rescue. Alright, come on, let's find the others. Did I also mention that this maze is spread out over 4 floors? Here's a map of the whole thing. You see how ridiculous this is? Well, that was the last of the miners on the first floor, so I just left Riker alone where he was, while the others take care of the second floor. Alright, Ricky, go free a nearby miner. No, you'll be fine. Ricky! So now I have my away team spread out over 3 floors now. Riker alone but on some wood planks on the first, Worf and Data on the second, and Ricky alone and vulnerable to worm attacks on the third. Well, let's leave Ricky for now. He'll be fine. Okay, Worf and Data are on the same floor as Ricky now. Surely they can mount a rescue party, right? Nah, Ricky's fine. It's Worf and Data, main cast members, who have to worry, right? Well, out in the field, I have Ricky rescue a few miners because Ricky isn't going down without a fight. Keep fighting the good fight, Ricky. Well, he better provide some backup for Ricky, so Worf and Data begin to search for him. It would help to have your phaser equipped, Mr. Worf! Now let's check on Riker. Anybody? Eventually, Worf, Data, and Ricky meet up again, and all the miners get rescued. Let us know if we can do anything for you, and, oh yeah, we need some new mining equipment. What you need is to get off this moon, because I am not doing this again. Oh, thank God we're back on the Enterprise, and we have a new communique. Apparently word travels fast, and Dr. Talara's heard about the IFD and wants us to return to Codus Nu 6 to talk to her. Of course, this would have been easier if she'd chosen to come with us, but whatever. She tells us that according to her research, the IFD, or Integrated Field De-Randomizer, last appeared in the Gamma Quadrant and was controlled by a political entity, the Senatorius. It was used as an instrument of destruction, decimating entire planets and solar systems. So, it's a Death Star. But now I have a question. How do we know the Unasians weren't going to take control of the IFD again? Sure, they say they don't want it to fall into the wrong hands, but what if that was all an act? How many episodes of Star Trek went down this way? But then again, they have a very slow ship that can't even get out of the Gamma Quadrant in the current millennia, so I guess we don't need to worry too much. Picard decides not to let the IFD get into the wrong hands and leaves the Teyvat with Dr. Talaris to research how to use. Because it's not like she can hop in a runabout and, I don't know, take the test herself. Well, after the horror of the Cave of Blunders, it's time for me to go to a starbase and heal my crew up. Excuse me? This is actually a pretty short section of the game. We run into this Ferengi who gives us the name of another Ferengi who might have mining equipment for sale and tells us he's in the Codus cluster, which is rather big. Rather than search through every single subsection in the computer, I opted to look at a walkthrough because I'm a busy lady. I don't have time to planet hop looking for one guy. I don't know why these older video games think I have oodles of time to do that, but I don't. I want the answer now. Basically, I have to go to the starbase at Codus Zeta 5, talk to the station commander, and head down to the planet where a bazaar is going on. How bizarre. For this part, you need to bring Troy along with you or else nobody's going to talk to you. Deanna, put on something nice. You're going in. Let's put her, Riker, her ex-boyfriend in a totally not a date, Beverly Crusher, her BFF, and Data as chaperone on the away team. And Troy proceeds to talk to everybody.
Do you know any Klingon opera?
Finally! We strike up a deal with Damon Radney, give him the name of the buyer, i.e. the miners on that moon, in exchange for some Romulan codes. I warn you, if you fail to send the correct codes, you will find the Federation unprofitable. Personally, I like to believe Troy actually said this. I mean, look how she was on Voyager.
But I can't order you held for psychiatric observation. Extended observation. Try me.
Next we get a distress call from the SS Nakatomi. A ship of unknown origin is attacking them and boarding. Now this isn't a required mission, and most playthroughs I end up losing it, but just for all of you, I beat it. No need to thank me. Basically, these aliens known as the Chodak have taken the Nakatomi crew hostage, and through a specific dialogue path, allow you onto the ship. Your goal is to rid the ship of its invaders and make your way to the bridge to defeat the last bunch and take the ship back. While the enemies are tough, the difficulty in this mission is flipping the right switches, which requires you to split up your away team. I personally like to leave crew with low health at the switches and let the healthier crew do most of the battling. Alright, Geordi, it's up to you. It's time to take back Nakatomi Plaza.
Come on to the coast, we get together, have a few laughs. I was always kind of partial to Roy Rogers, actually. I really like those sequin shirts.
I have no idea how you managed to rescue us. It sounds like one for the Academy textbooks. Yeah, it's the lesson after the Kobayashi Maru.
I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
And after that, you get nothing. Just a thanks for rescuing us, and that's it. Which is rather disappointing. But back to the mission at hand. Disturbance in the Verenator cluster and Dr. Talaris calling? Well, we better talk to the good blonde Vulcan doctor. According to Dr. Talaris, Teyvat stands for Temporary Artificial Variable Anomaly Device. To be honest, I didn't need the acronym. I would have accepted that Teyvat was an alien word. It's used to navigate through anomalies, but it requires ore for power. Oh no. Oh no, don't tell me! No, not Orion's Gamma 3B again! That's right, this game forces you to go back to the stupid mining moon to mine for ore. And the kicker? You need Geordi to mine the ore because his visor can detect it. So basically I sent Geordi by himself to mine for ore. How many Starfleet protocols did I just break? Several. Probably. I can't believe Geordi died!
We are not dead.
Thank God we have enough ore. Now let's never come back to this moon again. And now to the Verenator Cluster Anomaly. Whoa. Oh yeah, beaming Picard away without his permission. Not like that's ever happened before. Well, Picard, a Chodak, and a Romulan were beamed down to talk to this three-headed fellow, who I'm sure if he was in a Star Trek show would have been played by Jeffrey Combs. But it's time for the IFD, which requires tests of strength, wisdom, and compassion. It turns out that these tests were devised because the people who made the IFD used it for evil, turned from their wicked ways, and then sent it 10,000 years into the future, and of course, the future is now. The first test is what I'm calling the Feats of Strength.
Not the feats of strength.
Find the lonely frozen moon to start your quest. Fine, I'll Google it. It's Verenator Beta 3A. And as soon as we arrive, we're immediately attacked by robots and drones. There are space battles throughout the game, but most of them can be avoided by choosing the right dialogue options. However, this is a required battle. So to engage in a space battle, you go to Worf in charge of Tactical. During a battle, you can use phasers, which are unlimited, or photon torpedoes, which are limited and restocked at starbases, unless you're on Voyager. As the other ships attack, you will incur damage on the Enterprise if the area of the shields is down, so you'll want to take this into consideration when you're taking hits. I get this really nostalgic feeling looking at the battle map. This is one of the screens I remember the most from being a kid. I like the top part showing the view outside the ship, but while I'm battling, I don't really have a chance to look up and enjoy the visuals. Still, I appreciate it. In this battle, the drones keep coming and coming. I must have taken out at least 8 of them before they stopped coming. Holy moly, look at the damage on the ship. We couldn't even beam down to the moon. The transporter is busted. Well, better get Miles on it. Oh wait, he's probably at DS9 by now. It's all on you, Geordi. You have limited resources to devote to repairs, so you'll have to manage between the different systems with what you have. But now the transporter is up, so let's head down to the moon. So Riker, Data, Worf, and Ricky? Nah, we'll take this random lady that Riker dated on Deck 32. This moon is yet another maze, and yes, it's a maze where you have to hold down certain switches to get through. And yes, you have to fight off ice trolls and security robots. Fun! I admit I opened up a map to get through this, but honestly, this maze is probably a lot easier than Orion's Gamma 3B. Don't get me wrong, there are still hidden items you need to find that could lead to frustration if you miss them, but at the very least, this is all on one floor. However, complete this challenge and the Shard of Strength is yours. Next up is the Test of Compassion, which is on a verdant moon wreathed in the color of blood. Or in other words, Verenator Gamma 6E. A Test of Compassion, eh? This is a job for a counselor. Deanna, Riker, Picard, and Beverly. It's a double date! The planet is swarming with these plants that shoot projectiles at you. Mess up my hair? Oh, hell no!
My hair! He shot my hair!
You'll need to get across the river with these disappearing lily pads, so you'll have to send everyone one by one. Picard? Okay. Riker? Good. Deanna! Beverly! We happen upon this guy whose friend is trapped. I see where the compassion comes into play here. He gives us a jewel, but we also need to go in his hut and steal another jewel, because compassion. Well, it's back across the river for us. Oh, what the hell, Beverly? So in this puzzle, 2 crew need to hold down the buttons, which do damage, while another person runs across the bridge. Well, I know Beverly can't help with the buttons, so it looks like it's down to Riker and Picard. Here, take the Shard of Compassion. Ready to beam up. Wait, what? We didn't even rescue the guy! Where's the compassion? We're supposed to rescue this guy, but instead we take his shard and leave? That's messed up. But now test number 3, the Battle of Wits.
battle of wits has begun.
Find the planet with a satellite moving in the opposite direction. Okay, that's at least easy enough to check out on my own without a walkthrough. Plus, I like the planet diagrams on the con. Verenator Delta 5, here we come. Okay, we're pulling out the big guns today. Picard, Riker, Data, and Worf. Surely everyone's coming back from this away mission. I'm not going to get into every single puzzle in this test, but some puzzles require you to hold down switches to open doors or make platforms appear, step on tiles to get past. Wait a minute. Oh no.
Alamarine, count to 4. Alamarine,
Count to 4, Alamarine, then 3 more, Alamarine, if you can see.
Some of the puzzles are fairly simple, like stepping on tiles to make platforms appear or avoiding obstacles, while some require you to take a specific path. While you could probably spend weeks figuring out the puzzles through trial and error, I don't have time for that, so I heavily used a walkthrough during this test. You'll eventually end up in a room with a couple of transporters you have to build, and by doing the puzzles in the rooms they lead to, the Shard of Wisdom will materialize. And now it's all mine. Well, looks like we passed all 3 tests, so let's return to the 3 heads as fast as we can. Oh, a final challenge. So in reality, it's 4 tests. You lied to me. We're transported to an arena with the Chodak, Romulan, and Purple Guy, each firing at each other. Now, you can fail this challenge and ultimately the game. If you, say, attack the Chodak, Romulan, and Purple Guy, you will have proven that you do not have compassion or wisdom, so you fail the test. Look at that regret. I don't even need to see Picard's face. I know. Picard can, of course, be severely injured in the battle, which will also result in a game over. But if you want to pass the IFD, you need to take each shard and put them on these platforms, which causes the Chodak and Romulan to disappear. You then have to phaser the Purple Guy just enough for him to move to reveal another platform to place the last shard in. And we passed. Now, if you're thinking that there are alternate endings like Picard becomes Supreme Overlord of the Galaxy and makes Earl Grey a required beverage for all, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. No matter what options you pick, the end result is the same. A Picard speech. That much power is too much for a single person. It is too tempting to use against others. Hide in the future is my command. And we're treated to a visually interesting end screen and a captain's log where Picard explains that he kicked the can down the road another 10,000 years, hoping someone in the future will be able to figure out the IFD. I just hope whoever figures it out has your ethics, Jean-Luc. And then we get a decently rendered shot of the Enterprise crew as the credits roll. And that's Star Trek The Next Generation Echoes from the Past. So, did it make it so? The game controls are okay enough, and the game even includes a diagram of the controls on the pause screen. My only complaint is that you have to use your phaser at specific angles, but that's about it. 4 out of 5. The game looks great. I've played a lot of Genesis games in my time, but the artwork in this game is pretty solid and looks very Trek. The character photos look good even with 16-bit graphics, and even the in-game sprites look like the characters with only a couple of pixels. I have a fondness for the music, especially the theme song, that I might chalk up to nostalgia, but I don't care. I love it. 5 out of 5. The story is a passable Star Trek story. The only problem I have is that the whole Romulans looking for their missing research team becomes a bit irrelevant. Even though the ending is kinda predictable, if you know Star Trek, it's believable. 4 out of 5. I would say that this game is easy to pick up because the controls and basic gameplay are easy to learn, except that I had to heavily rely on a walkthrough to get through the game. If it's not the overly complicated mining moon map, it's the very difficult test of wisdom. Just for those 2 parts, 3 out of 5. This game should have been a bit easier. And yet, despite the drawbacks and difficulty, I still enjoy this game enough to revisit it every so often. Just the gameplay is enough to make me want to come back and experience it all over again. Can I say that for everyone? Maybe not. But for the gaming Trekkie, it'll probably inspire at least one more additional playthrough. 4 out of 5. That leaves Echoes from the Past with a 20 out of 25 or 80%. I'm sure if this game was easier, the score would have been higher, because as far as Star Trek games go, this one's pretty good. In fact, I wish more Star Trek games were like this. Away teams you could pick, some space battles, going from planet to planet. It delivers the Star Trek experience. The only thing that really brings it down for me is that I have to rely on a walkthrough for it. Otherwise, the game probably would have gotten a solid B+ or an A- from me. This game isn't very hard to come by, and in fact, I've run into it a couple of times in recent memory, and usually pretty reasonably priced at around $10. If you have a Genesis in working order, this game will truly take you where no one has gone before. So what do you think? Did you play this Star Trek Next Gen game? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your thoughts about it? And what are some of your favorite Star Trek games? Please, leave comments and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Waz Reviews. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends! Until next time...
Here's to the finest crew in Starfleet.